Hello students, welcome to Angel Health Academy. Topic for the day or topic for the session is classification of epidemiological methods or classification of epidemiological studies or approaches. As per the new syllabus 5th semester, it is also known as approaches. Okay, so classification of epidemiological methods or studies or approaches. So epidemiological methods or studies or approaches can be mainly classified into two broad categories, that is non-experimental studies and experimental studies. Experimental studies and non-experimental studies. As the term indicates, we know that here there is no experiment or there is no manipulation or intervention, and in this study there is an experiment or manipulation or making changes in the study samples. Non-experimental studies is also known as observational studies. So as the term indicates, here we are doing only observation. Okay, observation of a particular problem in a community or in the ward, that is called observational studies. Whereas experimental studies means it is an interventional studies. Here we are making some changes, either manipulation or interventions, or doing some procedures, administering drugs or vaccines to the sample, that is called interventional studies. Thus, epidemiological study or methods can be classified broadly into non-experimental and experimental studies, that is observational studies and interventional studies. Both the type have again two classes, that is under observational studies, descriptive study and analytical study. Descriptive study and analytical study. In epidemiology, descriptive study is the first study and analytical study is the second study, that is follow the descriptive study. As the term descriptive study, here we will only use the description. What is there in the community, we will find out by taking data from the or information from the population, that is called descriptive studies. For example, how many people or how many cases are there in the community in relation to hypertension, diabetes, COVID-19, etc. Okay, how many people are there based on or according to the person, place and time. Okay, that is who are the people affected in that community and where it is occurred, in which ward and when. Okay, which time of the month or which month or which period of the year it is occurred. That all comes under descriptive study. Okay. In analytical study, we go further of the descriptive study. After descriptive study, we got the people are suffering from particular problem in the community. For example, COVID. And why it is these people are suffering, and what is the relationship between the etiology or exposure of this disease and to the outcome, towards the outcome of COVID-19. Why these people are affected and what is the relation between the cause and the effect, cause and the diseases or exposure and the problem or outcome of the study, that we analyze in the analytical study. So analytical study means we analyze what is the differences or what is the relationship between the cause and outcome for disease. Then both the descriptive study and analytical study is again classified into according to the number of people we do the study, that is population based study. In that we do, our sample will be a large population. Second one is individual based studies. Here only one individual or a few individuals, not the complete population of the particular ward. So individual based study. Even analytical study also we have population based and individual based. So there are some different specific studies in epidemiology we do under population based and individual based studies. So under descriptive study, in population based study, we do cross-sectional studies, longitudinal studies and ecological studies. Cross-sectional, longitudinal and ecological studies. Then under individual based descriptive study, we do case reports and case series. So case means a person with a particular disease. Okay, that is case reports and case series. Then in analytical study, the population based study include ecological study, something related to the place of the particular area. Okay. Then second is individual based study of analytical study includes cross-sectional study, case control study and cohort study. Okay. This is about the classification of observational studies, that is divided into descriptive study and analytical study. Both studies have two types based on the number of population, number of people they are studying, that is population based and individual based. Under descriptive study, population based study includes cross-sectional, longitudinal and ecological. Individual based study includes case reports and case series. Under analytical study, population-based study is ecological study, and individual-based study includes cross-sectional study, case control study, and cohort study. Let us see what are the difference between this type of specific studies comes under population-based and individual-based. So first type is cross-sectional studies. It comes both in descriptive study and analytical study. Cross-sectional study means collecting data from the population or from the samples or people at one point in time or once only. Okay, we collect the information from the study sample only once. Then second type is longitudinal or longitudinal studies. As the term indicates, it prolongs the period of the study. So collecting data from the same subject or from same sample over time or many times. So more than one time. Okay, that is comes under longitudinal studies. So these are the difference between cross-sectional studies and longitudinal studies. In cross-sectional study, we collect the data only once from the sample. In longitudinal studies, we collect the data from the same samples or from the same population, study population, many times, more than one time. Then next is ecological studies. It is a comparative study which find out the geographic changes or variations in different community, different ward. Okay, that is regional variations we'll find in the ecological studies, and even temporal or temporary trends, changes in the occurrence of the disease, occurrence health problems, etc. Or the comparison between the different groups they are in the different geographical areas. That is different wards, different states, different countries, etc. All comes under ecological type of studies. Then case report and case series. These are the individual studies. So it is a detailed study of a single or a few cases with unusual symptoms. So same cases, that means say individual or a few people of individual having same problem, but they have different type of symptoms. Such a study comes under case reports. Whereas in case series also is an individual suffering from a particular problem or a few cases with a particular problem, but in this they have the same symptoms, okay, similar characteristics or similar treatment, same treatment. That study is called a case series. Okay, these are the studies comes under the descriptive studies. Then in relation to analytical study, we have a case control study. So as the term indicates, we are two groups. Case is the people with a particular problem. Control is the group of people without any problem. Why we are using control in the study? To compare the effect of the disease. Okay, so a comparative study which compare the individual with a specific condition is called as cases. To individual without diseases, so controls. So for example, smoking and lung cancer, whether the smoking is caused to the lung cancer. Okay, so we take the group, so one group will be smokers and other group will be non-smokers. So then we'll compare the effect of the smoking. Second is cohort study under analytical study. Cohort study follow a group of people, we called it as cohort, with similar characteristics or similar problems. Okay, over a time, it is a prolonged study to compare the incidence of the outcome, the disease between the exposed and unexposed people. So we select the exposed people to particular problem and non-exposed, unexposed group, and we'll compare why it is occur in the particular problem in a particular group, exposed group. Okay, that study is called a cohort study. Okay. Then second classification is experimental studies. Okay, these are the interventional studies which includes mainly randomized controlled trials and non-randomized controlled trials. Okay, randomized controlled trials is the experimental study which is done in the clinical areas. Because of it is called clinical trials, or it is done in special labs or hospital settings. Okay. Whereas non-randomized controlled trial, it is done in the field, okay, or in the community or in the ward. Okay. So randomized controlled trial means in this interventional study, the researcher used the process of randomization. That is nothing but systematically selecting the samples. In experimental study, there are two groups. Okay, experimental group and control group, as we have already discussed in the case control study. So experimental group will be given the manipulation, treatment, okay, etc. But control group does not given any interventions, any manipulations. Only we are using to control the effect of the study group. So selection of this group is using a systematic process in research that is called randomization. Okay, in this randomized controlled trials, researcher use randomization process. Non-randomized controlled trials, there is no randomization process. Simply the researcher collect the two groups, that is experimental and control group. Okay, this is about the experimental studies. And experimental studies, even in detail, it can be conducted as an analytical experimental study also. Okay, to find out the relation between the cause and the problem. Okay, why it is occurring, what is the relationship between the etiology and the disease occurrence. Okay, that also can be included in the experimental studies. So classification of epidemiological methods or studies or approaches includes non-experimental studies and experimental studies, that is observational studies and interventional studies. Both include two types mainly, that is descriptive study and analytical study under observational studies, and randomized controlled trial studies and non-randomized controlled trials in interventional studies. Both descriptive study and analytical study includes two types of study based on the number of people, that is population based and individual based. Population based study under descriptive study includes cross-sectional type study, longitudinal study and ecological studies. Individual based study of the descriptive study include case reports and case series. Population based study under analytical study includes ecological study, and individual based study under analytical study includes cross-sectional study, case control study and cohort studies. Okay. Randomized control trials use a randomization process to select the sample, and non-randomization controlled trial does not use a randomization process or systematic process to select the study group and control group. Randomized controlled trials done in clinical area or clinical settings or special lab or hospital settings. Non-randomized controlled trial is used in field trial or community trial to identify the effectiveness of the health education vaccination program in the community settings. So that is about the topic. Today we have discussed about the classification or types of epidemiological methods or epidemiological approaches or epidemiological studies. Okay, hope this video really benefits in your studies and exams. If you feel it is really worth and beneficial, please like, share and subscribe my channel, and stay tuned with the Angel Health Academy for the next important academic video. Thank you.